Hello and welcome back to my channel, Deku Fanfic. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off the movie part of our series, What If Deku Becomes Bladed Hero? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is Firearm78910 from fanfiction.net. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. Prologue, Awakening of the Aegis. All men aren't created equally. This is something Izuku Midoriya knew since he was 4 years old. Izuku is somewhat short for his age, his round face framed by a short mess of fluffy dark green hair which sticks up at odd angles around his head, casting noticeably dark shadows onto itself. His eyes are large and somewhat circular, their iris is the same green color as his hair, which at times are very watery, usually stretched quite wide, giving him an innocent appearance. He has a set of 4 symmetrical freckles and diamond formations, one on each cheek. He is born into a world where humans have superpowers and the word superhero is no longer a fantastical fantasy, but a real job, and for years Izuku wanted to be one as well. But he was one of the few who didn't have a quirk. He is quirkless. People told him again and again, but he ignored them. But it wasn't until he met his idol All Might, the symbol of peace, and asked him if someone quirkless can become a hero. He said no. After All Might said that, he left and told Izuku it was okay to dream, but to make those dreams realistic. Izuku just went on home. Izuku opened the door and saw his mother and Midoriya. "Izuku, you're..." Inko started to say until she saw her son's tears. Inko stopped what she was doing and hugged her son, and Izuku just let everything out. He told her about Katsuki, his school, and All Might. Inko, is apoplectic, wanted to rip Katsuki and All Might in two. But that was for later. After a bit Izuku stopped crying. He asks if they can take down all of the All Might stuff. Inko was surprised, but she didn't blame her baby boy. After a bit everything All Might related were stuffed into boxes. Izuku went to bed and slept a dreamless sleep. Meanwhile in a museum. "Okay, then let's set up the crystals over there, and I want the sword over there," an old man said as people were setting up an exhibit. The museum curator looked at the activity and cringed a bit, knowing that her father was right all along. Dad, I know you were right all along about Project Arrest, but don't you think that this is excessive?" The curator said. "I know that, but I want to rub it in Yaoyorozu's face," the old man said with a smirk. Of course, it always led back to her father's rivalry with the Yaoyorozus. "Okay, then let's get this over with," the curator said, just being done with this. As they continued to set up, she couldn't help but shake her head. But oh well, he had proved that Project Arrest did in fact exist. God, the looks on the finical backers of the museum when her father showed the artifacts were priceless. Especially the current head of the Yaoyorozu family. He was livid but relented and accepted that he was in the wrong. Now he is setting everything up just to rub it in. "Well, good luck, Dad," the curator said. The curator thought as she sees 2 crystals as the centerpieces. A few weeks later, Izuku and his mother are at the museum to unwind after everything that had happened. After Izuku recovered a bit, Inko went into action and sued the school for everything. At first they tried to deny everything, but it turns out a pro-hero known as Fatgum was investigating the school as well, and with Izuku's testimonies all their high school became a thing of the past, and Izuku received a massive compensation, and almost all parties were arrested, and sadly Katsuki Bakugo was not one of those arrested. A shame really, but oh well. Now Izuku and Inko were at the museum to see the new exhibit. "Now Izuku, after what happened to Alder, I'm glad you passed your high school exams. Now you don't have to bother with that horrid place," Inko said with a smile. "I won't say why they didn't give me that exam. Then I remember that they wanted their quirkless punching bag," Izuku said. "Now none of that. Alright, we're here to have fun. Now let's take the tour about Project Arrest," Inko said as both she and Izuku got into a tour group. They both learned that Project Arrest was meant to restore the Earth's ecosystems with a new man-made energy source called ether. However, it switched from environmental restoration to weapons manufacturing when it was proven an effective weapon against quirked people during the first generation. At first the law enforcement and solders at the time used ether as just ammunition, but then a new type of weapon utilizing ether was to be made to destroy the quirked people. That was until the first villain and hero destroyed the main base of Project Arrest, Elysium, thinking that they worked for the other. But thanks to the destruction of Elysium, the knowledge of how to craft ether was lost. After the tour they decided to have lunch at the museum cafe. "My goodness, I didn't think the time of the first quirks would be so violent," Inko said as she cringed at the violent parts. "It's a shame that we lost the knowledge to make ether. I wonder what the world would be like if it still had ether," Izuku said, wondering about ether. "Well, we may never know," Inko said as an announcement was being made. "Everyone please come to the museum lobby. We have a special raffle commencing soon." "Well, Izuku, how about you go do the raffle and have some fun?" Inko said with a smile. "Are you sure about that, Mom?" Izuku asks as he mom nods. Izuku goes to see what the raffle is about, and it turns out the winner of the grand prize gets a 200,000 yen cash prize and a chance to touch the glowing centerpiece crystal, since all of the other crystals he saw were black. So he decides why the hell not and participates. After 5 minutes of waiting, Izuku was announced the winner of the raffle. "Oh, Mr. Midori, I'm happy to see you have won the raffle," Now for your prizes, it's a 200,000 yen cash prize and the glowing centerpiece crystals, the curator said as she opens a box containing the crystals. Wow, they're beautiful. Can I touch them? Izuku asks. The curator chuckled. These are yours now. Also, we have many crystals. Go on, take them, the curator said. Izuku nods and reaching out to take it. As this was happening, the old man who made the exhibit was rushing and he looked like he was looking for something. He looked around until he saw Izuku about to touch the glowing crystals. His eyes widened and rushed towards the lobby. Wait, stop, don't do it, kid, the old man shouted as Izuku touched the crystals. The crystals started to brighter and brighter, and then fire and light comes out of them and engulfs Izuku. Izuku, and Ko shouted as she sees her son engulfed in flames. Izuku wanted to feel burned, but he didn't. He then sees something come out of the crystals, and they were beautiful. The first is a young woman with a red bob cut and red eyes. Green ether lines can be seen running through her body when using her power. She has an emerald crucifix-shaped crystal on her chest. She wears short red and black armor with gold and green ornamentation. She also wears black fingerless gloves, armored red thigh-high boots, red short shorts, a long multicolored reverse-draped scarf-like cape, and a golden tiara. She has a weapon which is a large, jagged red blade which emits flame-like energy when activated. She then spoke. Oh, are you my driver? I'm Pyrrha. It's nice to meet you. I hope we can work together. If so, then let my flames be yours, Pyrrha said as she introduced herself. Mithra is a young woman with long blonde hair, fair skin, and golden eyes. She has an identical figure to Pyrrha, taller than Izuku but still relatively short. Like Pyrrha, she has the same emerald crucifix-shaped crystal on her chest. She wears a short white dress with numerous golden and green ornaments and a golden tiara. She has 2 green symmetrical crosses on her chest armor, differing from Pyrrha's single cross. She also wears black stocking. Her weapon, like Pyrrha's, is a large, jagged white sword which emits yellow-green ether energy when activated. You're my driver. Well, at least you're cute. I'm Mithra. Let my light shine your way, Mithra said as she did the same as Mithra. The both of them stabbed the pointed end of their weapons on the floor, which caused the flames to disperse, revealing that everyone was unharmed. Izuku was stunned at what happened. I'm Pyrrha, Mithra, just who, or better yet, what are you? Izuku asked. Oh, that's right, I'm supposed we should tell you. We are Blades and you are our driver, Pyrrha said as she extends her hand. Izuku takes Pyrrha's hand and Pyrrha picks him up. To sum it up, Izuku, we're here to help you, Mithra said. And Ko shouted as ran towards Izuku. Mom, I'm fine really, Izuku said as Ko cried. Pyrrha and Mithra looked at the Midoriyas and had smiles on their faces. It was at that moment the old man came up to Pyrrha and Mithra. Excuse me, may I ask who you are? The old man asked. I am Pyrrha and this is Mithra and we are attacker class Blades. Pyrrha said. Blade. May I ask what a blade is? The old man asked, knowing that Pyrrha looks like a normal human. We are weaponized life forms who are powered by ether linked to a driver who creates and summons them by resonating with a core crystal. We Blades endow our driver with powers and a weapon. Each blade plays a different roles and an elemental type. An example, my element is fire, and providing a distinct set of blade arts and support abilities depending on its weapon, Mithra said, explaining what a blade is. Any other information you can give about blades? The old man asked, curious. While we're similar in biological terms to human beings, we survive with ether, but we can eat human food. We are also skilled in non-combat skills, Pyrrha said, like say cooking. Just to give an example, Mithra said. I see, the old man said as he wrote this down. Pyrrha, Mithra, I hate to say this, but we lost the knowledge on how to make ether after Elysium was attacked, Izuku said as Ko nods. Pyrrha grew a bit sad and bowed her head. I know that Elysium is gone, but as for ether, Blades are equipped with the knowledge on how to make ether, Pyrrha said, still sad about Elysium. Izuku noticed Pyrrha's tone and hugged her. It's okay for you to cry, Pyrrha, Mithra, Izuku said. Pyrrha cried a bit but soon stopped. Mithra cried a bit but and hugged Izuku as well. I know, Izuku, and as my driver I can endow you with power and knowledge. But I can give you the thing you needed the most, Pyrrha said. And that is? Izuku asked. Our support and the words you should have heard many years ago. You can be a hero, Izuku, Pyrrha and Mithra said at the same time. Izuku just cried as he muttered, finally someone believes me. Izuku thought this was start of good days to come. Have no fear, for I am here, All Might shouted as he appeared. All Might is a very large man with an equally muscular and well-defined physique. He has short blonde hair, swept backwards, with 2 distinct tufts that stick up above his head, leaning slightly to each side, which often casts a dark shadow over his face, hiding everything but his bright blue eyes. His hero costume consisted of a skin-tight blue bodysuit decorated with a red symbol that somewhat resembles a Y, designed with a white diamond at its center, with white lines connected to it that trace from his chest to his back shoulders, the lines trimmed with the aforementioned red symbol. The symbol appeared to have wings on the side that ran from the top his torso before ending around his back, over which was a similar red and white design absent of the white diamond. Large white patches lined with red covered each side of his hips before ending at his lower thighs, and he wore a gold belt that had a silver buckle with red eyes. His forearm sleeves were colored in gold that each had white lines covered in blue accents over his wrists, and had spiked fins on the sides of his arms. His feet were covered in shin-length gold boots trimmed with white and red accents. Izuku didn't notice Pyrrha and Mithra glaring at him. and Ko did notice. Pyrrha and Mithra write just one question: do blades get the memories of their driver when they first awaken? And Ko asked. The two blades nodded. Yep, I knew it. And Ko said, knowing full well what that meant. They hated Katsuki, Bakugo, and All Might for what they had done to Izuku. But she is happy that her son found someone that supported her son, and maybe this will be the first step in becoming a hero. Well then, Pyrrha, Mithra, I hope you don't kill All Might. And Ko said, I'm not stupid, I know what All Might is, and for some reason I should run away. Pyrrha said, confused as to why she needed to run. Izuku stopped crying and looked at All Might and then glared at him, but smiles at Pyrrha and Mithra, knowing that he has their support. It was at this day that Izuku took the first step in becoming a pro hero and becoming the bladed hero, Dekiru. Chapter 1. The Return of Ether. Pyrrha and Mithra were scowling at All Might as they were handcuffed. They were in police station along with the Midoriyas, and they were annoyed at him as they was being interrogated. The person who was interrogating them is a tall man with short, black hair and somewhat rectangular black eyes. He is a member of the police force. He is normally seen in his uniform, which consists of his signature tan overcoat and matching hat, underneath which he wears a black suit, a green tie at his neck with matching slacks and dress shoes. Pyrrha and Mithra write. I know that you must be confused about this, but many people want to know everything about blades and ether. The detective said, and I'm willing to do so, but not with him. Pyrrha said as she pointed to All Might. Miss Pyrrha and Miss Mithra, I do not know what your problem is with me, but I am willing to leave the room if that's what it takes. All Might said. Pyrrha and Mithra calmed down when All Might said this. Okay then, Pyrrha said as All Might left. Good, no need to tell that oaf about ether. Mithra said. Now then, let's get started. The detective said. Pyrrha happily explained what blades are and how to make ether, which was surprisingly easy to make. I see, that's good. I hope you don't mind me asking, but I've noticed you were glaring at All Might. The detective said. Pyrrha and Mithra's mood went from happy to angry in a split second as she glared at the detective. Sir, All Might is an insensitive, hypocritical moron. Pyrrha said. This made the detectives raise an eyebrow, wondering if she hit her head. And why is that? The detective carefully asked. It's about our driver Izuku Midoriya, Mithra said sadly. With the Midoriyas, Izuku and Ko were at another room still wondering where Pyrrha and Mithra are. Izuku was worried about them and was uncomfortable seeing All Might. And Ko, on the other hand, is glaring at All Might. Izuku, it's all right. And Ko said, still glaring at All Might. I know, Mom. Say, can I still be a hero even though I'm quirkless? Izuku asked. Normally Ko would be nervous, but not this time. She knew what she needs, know what she should have said all those years ago. Izuku, I should have said this to you a long time ago. Yes, you can become a hero with or without a quirk. Or Pyrrha and Mithra, I know for a fact you can be a hero greater than All Might. And Ko said with smile as she cried, which made Izuku cry as well. Thank you, Mom, that's what I wanted for so long. Izuku said. I apologize for not supporting your dream, Izuku, but that won't happen again. And Ko said. All Might overheard this and knew this would not go well. He needed to stop this. Those blades, they are the source of this and needed to stop them. With that, All Might left to see the blades, hoping to stop them. With Pyrrha and Mithra. Pyrrha told the detective about what happened and the detective was shocked. I see, thank you, the detective said as he was angry at what his friend did. At that moment All Might entered. Detective Naomasa, would you let me speak to Pyrrha and Mithra in private? All Might said as Naomasa nods and leaves. Naomasa bumped into All Might before leaving. What do you want, All Might? Pyrrha said with a small amount of venom in her voice. Ma'am, I do not think it's a good idea for young Midoriya to be hero. All Might calmly said. No, we will help our driver to become a hero. Mithra said as she glared at All Might. Please understand, this is for his own good. I get he has a dream, but he needs to be realistic. Hell, I even offered him a realistic path, being a hero. Police, firefighter, doctor. Those are nice things, they're good paying jobs and respectable ones, and he'll a heroes in the eyes of the people. All Might said, giving his piece. Pyrrha just listened in and she just laughed and laughed and laughed some more. Even Mithra was getting nervous at Pyrrha's laughter. Oh my god, that was the funniest thing I ever heard. Pyrrha, as she continued to laugh. After a while she stopped and she glared at All Might. All Might, what you said has to be the ridiculous thing I have ever heard. That will never happen. Doctors won't accept him because why hire a quirkless person when you find someone with a healing quirk? The firefighters are never going to accept him if there is someone with a quirk that can put out the flames. The police will not accept him unless there's no one else to pick. Face the facts, All Blight, no one will accept him due to him being quirkless. Pyrrha said as she tore down All Might's arguments brick by brick. Mithra shook her head and turned to All Might. Sorry to say, All Might, but in the end it always comes back to quirks. Mithra said. Pyrrha on the other hand continued. Gods, he's been bullied his whole life. People see him as a burden. His best friend baited him to commit suicide and not even his own mother believed him. We will not be the ones to break his heart again. Pyrrha said. That's, All Might started to say until Pyrrha interrupted him. And if recall, all of the suicide rates of Japan are from the quirkless, the oldest being 20 and the youngest being 10 years old. We are lucky he didn't die, especially with your words. Pyrrha shouted as All Might was left speechless. Pyrrha and Mithra took this as their cue to continue. Unlike you, his mother knows she messed up and she is trying to make it right. You were the straw that broke his back. You are extremely lucky he didn't kill himself, Mithra said as All Might remained silent. Pyrrha and Mithra got up from their seats, broke their binding and went to the door. But just before they leave she said, You should be ashamed of yourself, symbol of lies. Pyrrha stated as she left, slamming the door on her way out. After she left, All Might realized how much he messed up. He now knew what he had done. All Might thought. Unknown to him, this Nana person was shaking her head in disappointment. It was at this moment All Might knew he fucked up. With the Midoriyas, Izuku and Inko were discussing on how Izuku would become a hero as Pyrrha came towards them. Izuku, Inko were back, Pyrrha said as she waved at them. Izuku, you missed us, Mithra said. Pyrrha, Mithra, you're back, Izuku said as he ran towards his blades. Izuku hugged her as she hugged back. This caused some of the men and women to get a bit jealous of Izuku. After a bit they stopped, but not before Inko took a few dozen photos. So how everything doing? Pyrrha asked. We're doing well, Pyrrha. Mom and I planning on how I can catch up to the rest of my potential classmates in UAU, Izuku said. Maybe we can get you kendo and other martial arts classes, Pyrrha suggested. What about school? I mean, I know for a fact that all there is. Now calling it a shithole is an insult to shitholes, Mithra said. Online schooling exists and I've already graduated high school, Izuku said. Of course, and since Izuku doesn't have to go to Alder, we can make sure he goes a lot, Inko said. Kind of makes me want to build a Death Star to raise Alder to the ground, Pyrrha said. Here, sis, Mithra said, agreeing with Pyrrha. Now Pyrrha, as much as I want to commission someone into building a mini Death Star to blow up Alder, but we need to concentrate on Izuku, Inko said as Pyrrha nods. As they talk, a pair of men that are obviously spooks walked towards them. When they got there, one of them was about to speak. Pyrrha interrupted them. If you want to know about the fabrication of ether, can I ask that you wait for a bit? Pyrrha asked as Spook 1 looks at Spook 2. Spook 2 just shrugged. If you want, we can meet us at cafe over there, we would appreciate it, Spook 1 said. Are from the PSIA? Izuku asked. Yes, we are, and we would like the ether formula, Spook 1 said. Then you'll get it. All I ask is that you wait for a bit, okay? Pyrrha said. Sometime later at a cafe. It can't be that simple, the two spooks shouted. It really is, Pyrrha said as she sips her tea. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you guys didn't find it, Mithra said. To think we had the pieces to make ether and we never thought of putting them together, Izuku said, dumbfounded at the simplicity of making ether. Indeed, so one can expect everything being powered by ether, Inko asked. In a few years, I think, Spook 1 said. Well, that's fine. Do you want it written down? Pyrrha asked as both spooks nodded. Izuku gave Pyrrha a pencil and paper as she wrote down the recipe for ether and gave the spooks the paper. We thank you, Miss Pyrrha, and will compensate you and the Midoriyas, along with giving Izuku-san some recommendations for martial arts and kendo classes, Spook 2 said as both spooks leave. Well, that happened, Izuku said as the blades smiled. A few weeks later. A few weeks has passed since Pyrrha and Mithra had awoken. During that time, Inko is still seeing Mitsuki. She was still friends with her. Izuku went to the martial arts and kendo classes the PSIA recommended. Now Pyrrha and Izuku are now having a small break on the same cafe. So from what I saw, your training is going well, Pyrrha said as she drinks some tea. A bit slow, but you're doing quite well, Mithra said as she drinks some as well. Thanks, Pyrrha and Mithra, I'm just glad this is going well. Now I just need to find some armor to protect myself, Izuku said as Pyrrha and Mithra nod. I agree, Izuku, though who would make it? I doubt the support companies would make it since, well, you know, Pyrrha carefully said. I know why, and for that reason I just need to build it myself, Izuku said as an armored truck passed by. Izuku was a bit curious and the blade saw this. Izuku, what's wrong? Pyrrha asked. Oh, just wondering what's in the truck, Izuku asked. I don't know, but I do know is that I sensed a large amount of ether in the truck, Mithra said. Well, I guess they work fast, Izuku said. BBBOOMMM. An explosion occurred at that moment. What the hell? Izuku shouted as he stood up. Izuku, we need leave, Pyrrha said as the three of them began to run. As they ran, another explosion occurred, and this one was bigger than the last one, and this one was tinted blue. Wait, this one is different. I'm sensing ether and ... what? Pyrrha said as she sees core crystals falling from the sky. Wait, are those core crystals? Izuku asked as he see the familiar shapes of core crystals. I think so, Izuku, but where did they came from? Mithra wondered as a pair of core crystals landed near Izuku's feet. Izuku picked them up, but they didn't activate. Oh, hey Pyrrha, Mithra, why didn't they activate? Izuku asked. Well, when a driver resonates with a blade after the first time, you can choose to awaken a blade anytime you wish, Pyrrha said as she explained how the core crystals worked. Should we turn these in? Izuku asked as Pyrrha shakes her head. No, you need more blades to help you, Izuku. A healer class and tank class will be useful to you, Pyrrha said as Izuku takes the core crystals. As the two of them went away, Izuku wondered where the other core crystals went. In a mansion somewhere, within a large library, a fairly tall teenage girl with a rather mature physique, considering her age. She has long black hair that is normally tied into a spiky ponytail with a large strand hanging on the right side of her face and onyx eyes that point slightly inwards, which seems to resemble a cat. She is dressed in a sundress drinking tea while reading a book, until something smashed her window. The girl looked at the window, then she looked around and saw a core crystal on the floor. Oh, what is that? The girl asked herself as she was about to touch the crystal. At an apartment somewhere in Tokyo. In that same apartment there is a boy, relatively short blonde hair, parted to the right with a black lightning-shaped streak on the left of his side fringe, which is angled so that it partially obscures his left eye. He has slanted, somewhat triangular yellow eyes, and notably small eyebrows. Damn, I wonder what happened out there. I hope no one is hurt, the boy said as something fell next to him. What fell was a core crystal and the boy was going to pick it up. In a random alleyway. In an alleyway not too far from the explosion is a fairly tall, pale young man of a slim, somewhat lanky build, described to be in his early 20s. He has longish white hair, dyed black that spikes upward around his head, hanging low over his eyes, which are thin, turquoise in color, and heavily lidded. His most striking features are undoubtedly the patches of gnarled, wrinkled, purple skin that cover much of his lower face and neck, all the way down past his collarbone, below his eyes and on his arms and legs. These appear to be attached to the rest of his skin by multiple, crude surgical staples or hoop piercings, making it impossible to tell if these scars were accidental or self-inflicted. He was digging through the trash looking for food when something hits his head. "Oh, what the fuck hit me?" the young man said to himself as he sees what hit him. The thing that hit him was a core crystal. "Oh, maybe Jiren can get me a good price for it," the young man said as he goes to pick it up. "With Izuku, I'm sure they're all right," Izuku said with a shrug. With that in mind, Izuku and his blades went back home with the core crystals in tow, not knowing of what's to come. Chapter 2. Meeting and Awakening. Midoriya apartment. Inko was worried sick since she saw the reports of people touching core crystals. While some have awakened blades, others are getting injured at best and dead at worst. From what she heard, the people who are injured or died weren't compatible with them. Those that did summon blades were sent to a facility that can be examined to see what effect they had on their bodies, since blades were meant to be anti-quirk weapons. Izuku wasn't subjected to this since he's quirkless. It was at that moment Izuku, Pyrrha, and Mithra came back. "Izuku, Pyrrha, Mithra, you're back," Inko shouted as hugged them and cried. "We're okay, Inko," Pyrrha said as she patted Inko's head. "Yeah, Miss Midoriya, we're okay. But did something happen?" Mithra asked. "It's okay, Mom, we're fine, and it's probably about the explosion that we got away from," Izuku said as Inko shakes her head. "I don't mean that. I was referring to the fact that core crystal are killing people," Inko said as Izuku was shocked at that. "What, how many people died?" Izuku shouted. "So far only 2 people died and the rest are injured," Inko said, making Izuku sigh in relief. Izuku is still sad at the fact that 2 people have died just by touching a core crystal. Inko noticed the 2 core crystals in Izuku's hand. "Izuku, where did you get those?" Inko said in an over-friendly tone. Izuku, oblivious to his mother's scary voice, told her what his blade said to him. Inko just looked at him, then Pyrrha, and finally Mithra. She finally sighs. "I'm nervous about this, so let's do this at the roof," Inko said. Apartment roof. The 3 of them are now at the roof of the apartment where they were going to awaken the 2 core crystals Izuku has on him. "Okay, where this should be more than enough room to awaken the crystals," Izuku said as he noticed a 3rd crystal on the roof. "Another core crystal here," Pyrrha said as she picked it up. Izuku knew that blades couldn't awaken other blades, so it was safe for Pyrrha to pick up the core crystal. "Inko, why don't you try to awaken a blade?" Mithra suggested as Pyrrha holds out the core crystal for Inko. Inko was unsurprisingly nervous about this since she knew the risks. "It's alright, Inko. The research that Elysium held states that the direct family members of people who awoken blades can awaken blades themselves," Pyrrha said, calming Inko and Izuku down. "Okay, I'll take it. Do I need to say a magic word or something?" Inko asked as Mithra shakes her head. "No need, you just need to touch it," Mithra said as Inko takes the crystal as it started to glow. The core crystal glowed brighter and brighter until someone came out. A figure glided around the roof as if he was ice skating with a ball floating by. This blade soon started spinning around until he faces Inko. "Hi, I'm Florin," the now named Florin said in a feminine tone. Florin is a young boy with short minty green hair with a slightly brighter strand on top, pink eyes, fair skin, and an androgynous thin body. Florin's attire consists of mostly green and pink floral-themed clothing, with petals at the forearms and butterfly wings at the collar. He wears long light green stockings, with dark green high heels. Inko thought that he looked cute. Izuku for some reason didn't trust him. "You look like a driver I can depend on," Florin said with a smile. Florin thought. Pyrrha, Mithra, and Izuku saw his change in demeanor, but Inko didn't. "My cuteness can soothe even the most savage beast," Florin said as his ball he had manifested flower petals blades. "Oh, it's nice to meet you, Florin," Inko said as she hugged him. Florin thought with a smile. "It's so nice to meet you, Inko," Florin said as he notices Pyrrha. "Hello, Florin, I'm Pyrrha," Pyrrha said. "I'm Mithra," Mithra said. Florin took one look at Izuku's blades and knew who or specifically what they were, but to his surprise he sees the 2 shaking there as Florin nods. "Well then, Izuku, it's your turn," Pyrrha said as Izuku uses one of the core crystals he had. "Okay, let's see who's here," Izuku said as touches the core crystal began glow brightly. After the glow died down, everyone saw a pod appear on the roof with the word Vector on one of the sides. As it opened up, someone came out. She stood in front of Izuku. "Cosmos obey strategical multiple operational systems, all systems operational," the now named Cosmos said. Cosmos resembles an android and only one by name, but a standard young lady blade by all else. She is relatively short and muscular. She has fair skin, large magenta eyes, and pastel blue hair that falls past her waist. She wears sci-fi style white armor plating on her legs, arms, and torso, with black, red, and blue detailing. One of her arms is black, matching her neck brace. She also wears a large white, black, and red helmet which cover her forehead. Cosmos' core crystal is blue and shaped like a long, downward-pointing triangle similar to Pyrrha and Mithra's core crystal. Her weapons resembled cannons. Are you my master? Cosmos asked as she looked at Izuku. I am Cosmos, my name is Izuku Midoriya. Izuku said nervously as Cosmos nodded as made her cannons disappeared and walked by his side. Another female blade, isn't it a bit weird, Pyrrha? Mithra asked. No clue, sis, but I don't think Izuku would be too opposed to it. Pyrrha said. Considering his only positive female influence is his mother, I'm surprised he hasn't fainted yet. Mithra said. I'd ask about Mitsuki, but she's just a nicer female Bakugo. Pyrrha said. Still, maybe we should help him since he's so touch-starved. Mithra said. Pyrrha nods in agreement. Okay, now it's time to summon another blade. Izuku said as he used the other core crystal. The core crystal began to glow, then it stopped and Izuku blushed. The ho-ho. The blade chuckled as she walked towards Izuku. The blade that walked towards Izuku is a humanoid woman with rabbit-like features, including her hair which is braided into 2 large ears, a small tail, and paw-like hands and feet. She has noticeably exaggerated curves, white fur, and a form-fitting ice-glazed mini-dress. A snowflake-shaped earring hangs from one of her ears. Her core crystal is shaped like a 6-pointed snowflake. The name's Dahlia. The now-named Dahlia said as she made a flower made of ice. Izuku thought as he looks at Dahlia. Pyrrha and Mithra thought, allow me to make your life as enchanting as possible. Dahlia said as she turns the flower into a ball with ice spikes on it. She made the ball fly around until it floats near her. We'll be good together, I do declare. Dahlia said with a smile. Wow, it's nice to meet you, Dahlia. Izuku said as he smiles, making Dahlia blush a bit. Inko thought as she was a bit jealous at the figures her son's blades had. She seriously needed to go back to the gym. Okay, can I ask what classes you girls are? Izuku asked. Sure thing, hun. I'm an Ice Elemental Healer class blade and my weapon of choice is called a Bit Ball. Dahlia said. I am a Light Elemental Tank class blade. My weapon is a pair of ether cannons. Cosmos said as she summoned her cannons. I'm an Earth Elemental Healer class blade and like Dahlia I use a Bit Ball. Florin said. My sister and I are Attacker class blades. My element is fire while Mithra is light like Cosmos. Pyrrha said. Okay, I'm pretty sure the government will want to check up on me since I awakened a blade. Inko said as she called the police. Once that happened, the police came and saw the blades and took both Midoriyas to a government facility. Government facility. In an unknown government facility there were several people who have summoned blades. They are being tested to see if there were adverse effects on their bodies. Excuse me, how long until we get to go home? The mature black-haired girl asked. Just a few more tests, Miss Yaoyorozu. A government worker said. Momo, you don't need to worry, they just want to know if ether has any adverse effects on your body and quirk. Momo's blade said. Thank you, Adenine, I still like to go home. The now-named Momo said. Adenine has a reedy silhouette, short turquoise hair, teal eyes and holes in her stomach and shins through which green light particles can be seen. She wears a white dress made of paper pages with belt straps and armored arms. A large book is attached to a brace around her neck. I too am wanting to return to your residence as well, comrade. Adenine said as she is just done with this place. Well, at least you have a home to go back to. The black-haired guy said. Now Dabai, I do not believe that is necessary to say that. A female blade said, admonishing the now-named Dabai. Oh come on Brigid, I only say it as a joke. Dabai said with an eye roll. Brigid is a beautiful woman with long purple hair that ambers into blue at its ends. She wears half of it loose down to her thighs and the other half in Chinese-styled buns that are constantly ablaze in blue flame. Her eyes are usually closed, but are revealed to be purple when she opens them, and she has blue flame marks on her forehead above her eyebrows. She is very tall and has a curvaceous figure accented by her dress. It is deep purple and floor-length but fronted by a transparent chemise. Her arms and legs appear to be covered in blue crystal which resembles the shape and color of her flames. She has a belt on her waist holding a dagger and several orange glow sticks. Her core crystal is in the shape of a blue tear of flame. Truly too. Brick had started to say before Dabai got angry. Don't, just not yet. Not until Endeavor pays. Brickhead Dabai shouted. Whoa dude, no need to yell at your blade, also what did Endeavor to you? The blonde guy asked. Dabai calms down at this. Sorry Brickhead, I didn't mean to yell, I just don't want people to know my true name. As for your question kid, you don't want to know. Dabai said. I forgive you Dabai, I also apologize for almost revealing your true name. Brickhead said. Well that ended well. The blonde guy said. Good thing for that Denki, considering both of them can burn this place down with their powers. Another female blade said. Yeah, you're right Pandoria. The now-named Denki said. Pandoria is a young woman with short green hair, green eyes and pointed ears. Her appearance recalls the steampunk style, with big glasses, a small hat, electric bulbs in place of shoulders and a bulb tail. She wears a striped gray waistcoat, frilled shorts and long gloves and boots. Her core crystal shaped like a circuit board. Thanks Denki, Pandoria said with a smile. The doors opened to reveal the Midoriyas and their blades. Hi there, Izuku said as he waved. Hey there, dude, I'm Kaminari Denki and this my blade Pandoria. Denki said as he introduced his blade. Pandoria looked at Izuku's blades and her eyes widened, but one look from the Midoriya blades made the others go silent. Hi there, Pyrrha said as she waved at Pandoria. Hello there, I'm Yaoyorozu Momo and this is my blade, Adenine. Momo said as she introduced her blade. Hello my fellow blades, I hope you are treated well. Admin said. I'm Dabai and this is Brigid. Dabai said as he jabbed at Brigid. Hello there, and it is an honor to meet fellow drivers and blades. Brigid said. I'm Midoriya Izuku and these 4 are my blades. Kira, Mithra, Dahlia and Cosmos. Izuku said as he introduced his blades. Hello darlings, it's nice to meet you. Dahlia said with a smile. Greeting, Cosmos said. I'm happy to meet you all. Kira said. Hey there. Mithra said. I'm Izuku's mother Midoriya Inko and this is my blade Florin. Inko said. Hello everyone, nice to meet ya. Florin said. Dabai then saw how all of Izuku's blades are girls. Damn kid, you're gonna make a lot guys jealous. Dabai honestly said. I'll say I'm pretty sure half of the government guys won't be with your blades. Denki said with a grin. Yeah, our creator stated that would happen. Pandoria said. At that moment a government worker came out. Okay everyone, we now need to test out your blades. The government worker said. Here we go again. Dabai said as he rolled his eyes. Let's get this over with. Momo said as she and the others went with government worker. Not really knowing it, Izuku had made some great allies and greater friends. And this happened before UA University. Now Izuku wonders what he'll face in UAU. No matter, he'll face them with his blades. Chapter 3. A unicorn, a bird, a monster and a maiden walk into a bar. Today we find ourselves not with Izuku Midoriya or his blades, but instead we find ourselves in a rundown building, where a little girl named Eri was shaking in worry. Eri is a small girl with bluish, off-white hair, messy and unkempt, which is parted in the middle of her forehead, almost reaching down to her waist. She has very wide, innocent-looking eyes, which are bright red in color. Poking out from the right side of her forehead is a small, brown horn. She's wearing a plain, short-sleeved dress, which is a dirty, pale tan color. Bandages are wrapped around both her arms and legs, stopping at her wrists and ankles, underneath which she is shown to have numerous scars. Eri was scared as she returns from Kai was getting her blood. She didn't like Kai nor her curse. Why was she born with this curse? Eri hugged herself, curling into a small ball, hoping that Kai wouldn't come anymore. A few days later, Eri was eating a simple lunch that Kai's lackey gave her. She then overheard about something about blades or something. She didn't understood what they were, but she didn't care. She just wanted to leave or just die. One of Kai's lackeys took Eri back to her room where she stayed. Sometime later Kai came back. Kai is a pale young man of narrow build with short, shaggy auburn hair, parted to the right. His eyes are thin, their iris is small and gold, with rather long lower eyelashes and small eyebrows. He wears a black dress shirt with matching dress pants, a pale gray tie around his neck and a belt with a long, thin buckle around his waist, with 3 beaded lobe piercings in his left ear. Over this, he wears a dark olive green bomber jacket with a thick purple fur collar and white lace-up sneakers with tan soles and no socks. The white surgical gloves he wears on his hands and the magenta plague mask he wears over his mouth, which is tipped and embroidered with gold, are his most distinguishing features. Eri, I need another sample, Kai said as Eri nods. Eri follows Kai where he'll get her blood. Her screams were once again ignored. Kai returns Eri to her room and leaves. Eri once more curls up to make herself smaller. Another day passes when she heard Kai complaining about one of his lackeys getting hurt. She then hears that Mr. Rappa hurt himself with a shiny rock. Kai said that those rocks could have killed him. When she heard that she can die, she needed to find those rocks. She decides that tonight she will get the rocks. Later that night, Eri had managed to sneak to the storage and grab the rocks with a bag. Once she gets back to her room, she decides to grab all 3 rocks. As she grabbed the rocks, Kai and the others barged in, but he was too late. The 3 of them began to glow brightly. Then 3 figures appears behind Eri. The first is huge and powerful, resembling an insectoid demon. He has 2 long, curving antennae, spikes lining his arms and legs, and a segmented tail. On each shoulder, he has a sort of exhaust channel. The second is very tall, with a mostly humanoid figure. He has red, orange and green feathers on his limbs, head and wings, and smooth brown skin on his torso. His feet are those of a bird and his hands are clawed. He has long, pointed bird ears and pure white eyes edged in blue, and a beak in place of a mouth. Around his neck he carries a fully inflated bag of winds. His core crystal is tear-shaped and sits in a golden chest piece fashioned in the likeness of a hen. The third has floor-length white blonde hair, pale skin, and large pastel purple eyes. She is relatively tall and slim, and wears a long white, blue and golden dress with thigh slits and armored thigh-high leggings. The dress is adorned with many golden ornaments and symbols. Blue halos surround her wrists, ankles, and neck. Her core crystal is in the shape of a blue diamond. Oddly enough, there was no introduction. In fact, the 3 of them gave Kai and his lackeys an angry glare. Eri, however, was a bit sad that she didn't die, but for some reason she not only felt safe, but she also knew their names. Wolfric, Rock, Vess. Eri said, "Don't worry, Eri. We'll keep you safe," Vess said as she made a ball appear. Wolfric took out a giant lance. Rock took out a pair of scythes. "Kill them," Kai said as the lackeys attacked them. But the blades took them down. Wolfric and Rock did most of the heavy lifting. Vess on the other stayed back. Kai was getting angry. This was a waste of time. He charges in with his trusted allies, Hari Kurono and Joy Iranaka. Hari has thin, dark eyes, pointed eyebrows, and pale chin-length hair that forms arrow-shaped clock needles. He wears a plague mask, his being black with gold trim and also including circular glasses over his eyes. He can also be distinguished from them by the long white raincoat he wears, with the hood kept permanently up. Joy is usually seen inside a black suit that he possesses with his quirk as a means to disguise himself. It appears to just be a small black cloak with short leg and arm-like protrusions, and a white plague mask that he wears as part of the Shai Hasekai, sewn over where his face should be. Hari charged at Rock while Joy took on Wulfric. Kai went after Vess. Vess ran towards Kai. Kai used his quirk on Vess, thus killing her. Hari was shocked as she sees Vess's core crystal clattered on the floor. Kai passes by the core crystal. Poor woman, she should have, Kai said as he felt a hand touch his shoulder. Kai turns around only to see the core crystal was floating and he sees Vess's arm touching him. What the fuck? Kai said as he sees Vess regenerates from a puddle to a person again. Vess gave a small smile. Oh, you poor stupid boy, Vess said as she punches Kai. How are you still alive? Kai asked as he glares at Vess. Simple, I'm a blade, not a human. As long as my core crystal is intact, I can shrug off your quirk, Vess said. After hearing this, Kai touched her crystal and used his quirk ... but nothing happened. What? Kai shouted as Vess kicked his balls. This caused Kai to fall down to his knees. Kai felt helpless as he sees both Hari and Joy lose to the blades. He knew that blade were weapons built specifically to fight off the infected. He had no idea, however, that they were immune to quirk-based attacks. You're as good as dead, Chisaki, Vess said as she used her bit ball on Kai. The ball hits Kai on the head, which caused Hari to laugh a little. Prepare die Kai Chisaki balk, Rock said as he and the other blades began to charge ether. Apocalypse, Wulfric shouted as he fired a beam. Crimson Storm, Rock shouted as he fired a red tornado. Divine Plasma, Vess shouted, fired a ball of plasma. The three attacks combined into a colossal beam. Kai stares at beams. That was his doom. The rest of the lackeys ran except for Rappa. The only thing he regrets was not restoring the Yakuza. The beam consumes Kai, killing him. Nothing remained of Kai, thus ending the last branch of the ancient Yakuza of Japan. Hari looked at where Kai was. Is Kai gone? Hari asked. Yes, sweetie, Kai is gone, Vess said in a gentle voice. Hari looked at where Kai was once more as she began to cry. Kai was gone, he was gone, she was free. Vess, we need to leave, those heroes will come soon, Wulfric said. I agree with Wulfric, we need to go, Rock said. Vess nods at this. We'll need to find food, water, and medicine for Hari. We also need to destroy any biological samples, Vess said as the other two nods. Wulfric and Rock went to find the samples, while Vess and Hari looked for food and supplies. Once they find some, the quartet leaves the base to never return. Hari couldn't have been happier. Sometime later, several pro-heroes, law enforcement, firefighters, and first response units are surrounding the old Yakuza base, seeing as it was destroyed. 3 heroes in particular were the ones investigating the Shai Hasekai. These were Sir Night-Eye, Centipter, and Bubble Girl. Sir Night-Eye was a tall, lean but muscular man with rather sharp and elongated features. His shiny hair was always worn smooth down and parted to his left, and was of a dark green color, with 3 yellow streaks towards the front, 2 on his right, and 1 on his left. His eyebrows were also yellowish, matching the rims of the triangular glasses he wore and the strikingly bright yellow irises of his stern-looking eyes. His looks gave off a sense of authority and power, as he rarely smiled and looked stern, and he always appeared to be glaring. Unusually for a pro-hero, Night-Eye appeared to prefer plain office clothes instead of an elaborate hero costume. His clothes, however, seemed to be quite durable, as he used them during battles, and they didn't show any sign of damage or tearing. Centipter is a tall, thin man with the face of a brown centipede. He wears a black tuxedo and a scarf that looks like a centipede wrapped around his neck. Bubble Girl is a fairly well-built young woman with a rather slim build, her skin light blue in color. She has short, ruffled dark blue hair that curves upwards and downwards around her head, parted to her right, and wide yellow eyes with thick eyelashes. Her hero costume consists of a skin-tight dark blue crop top with a white high-collared section, a zipper down the middle, over the higher part of her chest, which reveals her torso from the underside of her breasts. She wears black tights with loose white shorts, 2 yellow markings down the either side of them, and a thick white boots with lines running down their shafts, yellow rings in the center of them. Over her entire face, she wears a transparent visor with an air filter on each side, and on her hands she wears plain dark blue gloves. Well, it's safe to say that the Yakuza are finished, Bubble Girl said. Indeed, but who could have done this? Sir Night-Eye said. No idea, sir, but from what I heard from the first responders, only 2 of Chisaki's 8 bullets survived. Centipter said. Thank you, Centipter. As soon as they recover, we make sure that they tell us everything, Sir Night-Eye said as a young officer comes up to them. Sir Night-Eye, one of the survivors told me about who did this, the young officer said as he explained what he was told. A little girl and her blades did this, Sir Night-Eye said with a scowl. Damn, whatever the bastards did to her must have pissed off her blades royally, Centipter said. Agreed. What else did you boys find? Bubble Girl asked. Okay, we also found evidence of the existence of quirk-killing bullets, the young officer said as he sighs. This shocked the 3 pros. The officer explained how the bullets worked, but he also told them that the instructions along with the materials to make them were destroyed. But what little they did find stated that they needed a biological component for them to work. It didn't take the pro-heroes long to find out what that biological part was. I see, thank you, officer, Sir Night-Eye said. No problem, Sir Night-Eye. The young officer said. I also assume that we no longer have jurisdiction on the investigation, correct? Sir Night-Eye stated. This stunned Bubble Girl and Centipter. Yes, that is also true government orders, I'm afraid. The young officer said. The officer left as Night-Eye grumbled. Sir, I know you don't trust Blades, but what can we do about it? Centipter said. Night-Eye sighs. I know, but we need to assure the world that the heroes can still do their jobs. Sir Night-Eye said. Maybe there will be heroes that use Blade. Heck, maybe All Might will get one. Bubble Girl said, hoping that will make Sir Night-Eye smile. It doesn't. He looks at Bubble Girl. Just for that, no tickle machine tonight, but I do wonder what kind of blade would suit All Might. Sir Night-Eye. Bubble Girl sighs in relief. Centipter looked at the crowd of reporter now forming at the site. This was indeed a first for the world. Blades causing a ruckus. Meanwhile, with the Midoriyas, Izuku was enjoying his dinner with his mom and Blades when the TV gave a special report. The report explained about an explosion that happened in the city where the cause of the explosion was from Blades. As the report continued, everyone on the table have their opinion about this. I hope that little girl is alright. Inko said, worried about the little girl. I wouldn't worry about her. In fact, I would worry about the idiots that would go after her. Mithra said, I just hope they remember to pack supplies for the girl. Kira said, I'm sure she's fine. In fact, with my luck, we might run into her. Izuku said, the probability that would. Never mind, Master. Cosmos said with a sweat drop over her head. I would give the little one lots of hugs. Dahlia said with a smile on her face. Oh, I'm sure she'll be well. Florin said, believing that the little girl will be all right. They continued to eat dinner. They heard a knock on the door. Izuku stood up and looked through the peephole, and his eyes widened. Izuku opened the door to reveal a sleeping Eri being held by Vess with Rock and Wulfric behind her. To be honest, I expected this to happen tomorrow. Cosmos said. So did Izuku, for that matter. So did Izuku. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through What If Deku Becomes Bladed Hero. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to Firem78910 for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on fanfiction.net for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Deku Fanfic for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.